Are you tired of coding like this? Div, div, typo, div, class, container. Yeah, you probably are because it's repetitive and it just makes noob life even noobier. If you want to be quick and code like a boss, well, keep watching because you're going to love this lesson. I'm going to show you awesome VS
Wow.
Code extensions and shortcuts that you can use to basically make you feel like you're coding and things are just coding themselves. You'll feel like a wizard if you really get some of this stuff right. So if you don't know about Emmet, you need to know about Emmet. Emmet makes it so that you just have to write little pieces of your code and then the rest fills itself in. So I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. But first I just want to let you know if it doesn't work for you, please go into your settings JSON. You get there by, in Windows, you do Control Shift P, then you can just search settings JSON, click, and that's where you find it. If you don't already have this line here, Emmet include, and all this stuff, your Emmet might not work. Alright, so fix that and then come back here. So let me show you what we can do now. Instead of writing div 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 div, character by character, and having the classes inside there, you can just write div dot container, for example, and it just creates the div. And this is really useful because you don't have to retype this every single time. I mean, you can do the same thing for paragraph. Sorry, I don't know why I deleted that. You could just say p dot paragraph, that's the class name, and there you go. So this will save you a lot of time in defining HTML elements and their
Wow.
classes. If you want to nest something, which we're doing all the time in HTML, you can do that as well. Let's say you want a container div with a item div inside of it. You just type whatever your element is in the class name and then write a greater than sign and then whatever you're nesting inside of there and enter it. Sorry, it didn't work because I actually clicked away from the line. Div item. So now we have a nested container and item here. And you can take this to like greater and greater levels. If you were to do div container div item, you can of course do an unordered list inside there, and then you can say list item and I want 3 of them. Boom. So you don't have to type all of that at all. You can get even crazier and you can do all of that, and you can even say I want the div container, I want a div item inside that container, I want the unordered list to have list items, and I want the class names to be item, and I want them to increment by 1 to 3. And so you have a container and a nested item, a list, and list items that have class names going from 1 to 3, which is, I mean, that's just awesome. So you should certainly use these whenever you can so that you don't have to type nonsensical stuff over and over again. Your code will just write itself. Alright, so another thing that's very similar is something called React snippets. It's basically what I just showed you, like for Emmet, but it's for React. You don't have to type the same thing over and over again to create a component. To get React snippets, you just search for ES7 React Redux snippets and you would just install them here.
Wow.
So if you don't have this, every time you go to make a React app, you have to type like all of this stuff, which, I mean, who wants to do that? So instead, you just can create a new app, I'm sorry, a new component. Let's just call it snippet component. Okay. And now you can just type the letters RAFCE, enter, and we have a React component set up, which is like super, super useful. So that's what I would use for for making your React life a lot easier in typing. Similarly, you're always going to have to import these components into your files. So, and you might not want to retype the path like every time. So there's something called IntelliSense. It's an extension as well. If you install this, then when you're importing stuff, like my bit component, and hit enter to get it into your file, it'll auto-complete the path, which is, I mean, that's a huge time saver. And if you're writing all this stuff, you know, all the indentations and stuff, it can really like start to mess with your head. So if you want a way to see your indentations in a little bit of a prettier way, you can certainly do that. It is called Indent Rainbow. If you go and install this, now you can see my indentations have colors to it, so you can see what's where, which is really useful when you're writing front-end code. Another thing that, you know, if you're writing your app as a React app, it's not so hard to run your server. You just say npm start. But if you're doing basic HTML, right, like this, like a basic HTML app. By the way, if you don't want to write boilerplate code for HTML pages with Emmet, you can just do exclamation enter, and it writes the whole boilerplate. But anyway, so if you have some basic HTML and you don't want to go to XAMPP, WAMP, XAMPP, whatever you call that, and load it up, configure the server, you can just download something called Live Server. There's two here. You should use in 5 server, Live Server 5 server. Oops. Just click install, and that allows you to just right click your file and open it up with 5 server. That easy. Start up your server with just like literally 2 clicks. So that's kind of it for the front end stuff. For just helping out your code flow, like what you might be writing and other auto completions, there's something called IntelliCode. And this will help you auto-complete functions so that you can write things much easier once it's able to get the context of what you're coding. Another thing that you probably love to have, just so your code can look like everyone else's code typically, is something called OneDark Pro. This is just literally like something that changes the colors, but you'll see a lot of people who have this theme, so you can just install it so you feel cool too. Boom, wow, look at that. Everything is changed now. And I typically go with the darker theme. And so now everything looks like this, which is, you know, a little bit different. And then if you want your icons and stuff to look cool, right now there's no icons here, it's so boring. If you want your icons to look cool, you can go and search material, icons. So there you go. Installing material icon theme. And now I've got these really pretty looking icons. So you can feel like a little bit more jazzy and special when you're coding with that stuff. Alright, those are the extensions. Now, here are the VS Code shortcuts. Now, the most important one, the basic one, is opening up your terminal, what I'm doing right here. To do that, all you have to do is really control and then the tilde. Control tilde, control tilde. And that's how you do that. If you want to comment a line out, just do control and then slash, like that. Control and then slash. You can control slash to uncomment. If you want to place multiple cursors, you can do that as well. Just hold down Alt and click here, click here, click here, and then I can just write divs 1, 2, 3. And If I wanted to tab a whole section over, of course you just select it and tab, it'll space it over. If I want to untab it or de-indent it, then you can do Control left bracket, which is really useful to order things, reformat things. If you'd like to move a line down, like for example you had something like this. If you want to move something down, you just press Alt and move it up or down. That's how you move the lines up and down. Alt and then up arrow, down arrow. If you want to copy a line down, you can just do Shift Alt and press down or up. Pretty nice and useful. And those are really about all the shortcuts. I mean, there's like so many more shortcuts, like Control Shift K to delete a line. You can literally just Google keyboard shortcuts for Windows here or Mac, and all these things will help you code fluently and feel like the code is just kind of writing itself. So you don't have to sit there and div until the day you die. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe, comment, and like, and have a great day.